Christmas, and thank you for joining the online Christmas Eve service of Grace United Church in Wellsville, New York. We really hope that you have a pleasant and a peaceful evening as we remember the birth of Jesus in a dark, dark stable so many years ago. What is the darkest place that you have ever been? One time, Mark and I were driving out in the West. We were traveling to Nevada and California, and one evening we were passing by Death Valley, Nevada. Looking out the window, it was very, very dark outside, and so we decided to stop the car and turn out the lights. It was incredibly dark. No street lights, no other cars, no buildings, no cities, no light pollution. As our eyes adjusted to the darkness, we got out of the car, and there were so many stars. As we looked up into the heaven, we could see the Milky Way and the comets. And in that darkness, the sky came alive in our eyes. In this region of the country, it's also far from the light pollution of the big cities and urban areas. And one night, our resident astronomer, Dave Toot, invited our family to join him and some students and others at Alfred University at the observatory. And we had a chance to look through the telescope at some amazing sights. He took us outside then and showed us with his laser pointer the different constellations. What an amazing sight on that dark night. But I remember a time even darker than that. I remember when our family visited the Cave of the Winds in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The guide took us deep into the cave, and we saw the stalactites and the stalagmites and all the other wonders of the cave. And then she took us to this vast cavern and extinguished all the light. And it was dark as you can imagine. Now, I'm sure that you've been to some dark places, but for many of you, I imagine that the darkest time in your life might not be a place, but a season, a time of hardship or great challenges. A dark time could involve a health crisis or a personal challenge. A family member might have been facing a serious problem. Sometimes the loss of a job or the end of a relationship can create a terribly challenging time. Maybe it's been a time when you have felt especially alone, or a time in which you felt abandoned or betrayed. COVID is once again on the rise, and it isolates us from one another, creating new fears and new anxieties. Maybe for some of you, this Christmas is a difficult time. Maybe Christmas is always a difficult time for some of us as we remember the loss of a loved one. Surrounded by all of the wonderful elements of Christmas, the Christmas carols and all the decorations, sometimes the family traditions might seem strange and empty without a person that we love. For many reasons, we can experience a dark time in our lives. 700 years before the birth of Christ, the prophet Isaiah wrote these words: "The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. For those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned." Here, the prophet Isaiah describes the circumstances of Jesus' birth 7 centuries before it even occurred. He describes a time of darkness and sorrow, a people living in a land of shadows and sorrow and despair. When Jesus was born, the land of Israel was facing just such a time. The land of Palestine was ruled by an invading army. The emperor of Rome, Caesar Augustus, had power over the land and over all of its inhabitants. He could arbitrarily levy taxes, and he could suppress any resistance. He could do away with any opposition. The Romans ruled the land with violence and terror. In fact, at the time when Jesus was a young boy, the Roman governor of Syria crushed a Jewish revolt, killing over 2,000 people. Crosses went up everywhere. Some went up only 5 or 10 miles from Nazareth. It was a very dark time. And yet, the Gospel of John describes the coming of Christ as the light coming into the world. He says, "The one true light who gives light to everyone was coming into the world, a light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it." Light is a wonderful symbol of the Christmas season. At Christmas we say, "May your days be merry and bright." We put lights on our trees, we light up our streets, we flood our homes with colored lights. It's a season of lighting candles as symbols of expelling the darkness of the darkest time of the year. And it is an appropriate symbol because the Bible tells us that Christ was the light of the world. His light shone in a dark time in human history and changed everything. It began as just a flicker in a cave that was used as a stable in the tiny town of Bethlehem, but that light grew brighter and brighter. Caesar Augustus might have seemed like an eternal ruler, but only a few centuries later, people of the Roman Empire were not bowing the knee to Caesar, but to Jesus. Jesus was being hailed as Lord and Messiah. In fact, our very calendar is now divided between before Christ and after the coming of Christ. Now, more than 2,000 years after Jesus, we still celebrate his birth. He has transformed history and changed our lives too. There are so many trappings of the holiday season, but of course the greatest Christmas gift is this tiny, vulnerable baby. It's a gift of immeasurable worth, with the potential of changing your life and the life of everyone around you in a way that you can't even imagine. But it is a gift that demands a response. I was thinking of an example of this. Mark and I, we like kitchen gadgets, and a few years ago our niece and nephew gave us a food dehydrator, and we had a lot of fun dehydrating strawberries and other fruits. One of our favorites was banana chips. It was a great deal of fun making all of these treats. Now just imagine if we decided to get you a dehydrator for Christmas. We anticipate that you'd like it, and so we go out and we get it for you and we wrap it up and we have it for you on Christmas Eve. And we see you after the service and we say, hey, we have this wonderful gift for you. Can we give it to you? I think it's a gift that you're really going to like. And you say, wow, thank you so much. That's incredible. I can't believe that you got me a gift. Well, that is so kind. And then we're like, well, do you want to open it? And you say, well, I'd love to open it, but right now all my family's here, and so I better get going. But I'll take this gift with me, and I'll be sure to open it up. And I say, great. I hope you really like it. And then I see you next Sunday, and you come back to church, and when I see you, I say, hey, what do you think of that gift? Did you like it? And you say, oh, yeah, the gift. Oh, yeah, well, we've been really busy with Christmas and all, and, well, we really haven't had the chance to open it yet. I know right where it is, and I'm really looking forward to opening up this present. You were so, so nice to get me this gift. Well, a week goes by, and then two, and then it's about a month later, and I'm shopping over there at Tops at the grocery store, and I see you there, and you see me, and say, hey, what a surprise! I was just talking about you in the church, and I was telling someone how kind you were to get me that gift. Out of all the people in the church, you gave it to me. I can't believe it. It was incredible. Man, and it's so great to see you. And I say, hey, yeah, well, how are you enjoying that gift? Do you like it? Did you open it? And you say, well, no, I really haven't had a chance to open the gift yet. But I know right where it is, and someday I'm going to open it. Well, at some point, I think a gift is really not a gift unless it's received. We have to receive a gift for it to have meaning for us to be able to use it, for it to make a difference in our lives. The gift of the Christ child is the same way. It's his ultimate gift, the expression of God's great love for us, and that we have to receive it in our lives. And in that experience of receiving Christ and relating to Christ, our lives are changed. And when we receive that gift, it's a lot better than a dehydrator. It can change everything. New priorities, new focus, a new community. It changes how we spend our Sundays, the rest of the week. We're part of the family of God. And that really can change everything. It's like light coming into the darkness, lighting up the world. Jesus says, I am the light of the world. He says this in John chapter 9 when he heals a man who was blind from birth. In fact, in John 8, Jesus says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Jesus says that he is the light of the world. But in Matthew 5, though, in the Sermon on the Mount, he also says, you are the light of the world. He says this to his followers. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before people that they might see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. So which is it? Is Jesus the light of the world, or are we? Are we his followers? Are we the light of the world? Well, of course, we understand that both is true. So the tiny flicker that began in a musty stable in a remote part of the Roman world has spread and spread like a flame from one candle to the next to the next. In spite of the darkest time, despite oppression and persecution, despite violent opposition and apathy, the story of the Christ child and a relationship with Jesus continues to change lives in unexpected and incredible ways. I know that we're in a little church in a little town of Wellsville, a tiny dot on the map. But just think about this. Just like a flame spreading from one candle to the next, we can become a bright and shining beacon of light to a world in need. God has great plans for this people and this church. Christmas is the story of humble beginnings and of life-changing transformations. Isn't it wonderful to be a part of that? May God bless you this Christmas. Amen.
Angels sang about his birth, wise men sought and found him. Heaven's stars shone brightly forth, and there was glory all around him. Shepherds saw the wondrous sign, heard the angels singing. All the gods were in that night, and all the hills were ringing. Let all mortal flesh keep silence, and with fear and trembling stand. Under nothing earthly minded, for the blessing in his hand. Christ our God to earth descended, and feel homage born to the man.